There's a phantom sensation we carry. It's the chilling awareness of walking in a world that feels less. We move, we function, we even achieve, but something vital within us lies dormant, like a tomb sealed against sunlight. This isn't the absence of life, but a spiritual torpor, a quiet erosion of meaning that leaves us feeling like ghosts in our own existence. It's as if a slow death has already occurred, leaving behind an echo, a husk. We drift through days, mistaking the performance of living for life itself. The vibrant hues of being fade to a monotonous gray. This spiritual numbness, this profound lack of deep engagement, isn't a natural state. It's a carefully constructed burial, a hiding place for a soul too afraid to confront its own mortality, its own true depths. We've forgotten the ancient rituals of dying to ourselves. This hidden burial, this spiritual stillness, is not an end but a powerful symbol. It represents a necessary passage, a descent into the underworld of the self. The myths of Osiris, Dionysus, and Christ all whisper of this transformative death, this shedding of the old to embrace the new. As this journey unfolds, we'll explore this archetype of death not as terror, but as the fertile ground from which authentic life can finally blossom. This pervasive numbness, this echoing silence within us, points to a profound denial. It suggests we are living a life that is already a kind of forgotten burial. But what exactly have we buried and why? This leads us to the first, vital question: what does it mean to live a deathless life, and is its stillness a sign of sacred peace or surrendered meaning? And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this. Now let's keep going. We carry within us a primal drive, a force that pulls us not just towards existence, but sometimes, paradoxically, towards its opposite. A surrender, a fading into silence. This isn't the conscious choice of ending everything, but a deep-seated, almost biological instinct, a whisper of Thanatos, the death drive. It's a subtle current that, when unchecked, can lull the spirit into a profound sleep. This sleep isn't peaceful rest. It's a somnolence where meaning itself seems to evaporate. We become detached, observing life from a distance, unmoved by its joys or sorrows. The vibrant tapestry of experience thins, frayed by a weariness that seeps into our very bones, leaving a dull ache where passion once resided. Freud recognized this potent force, this inclination towards entropy, towards a return to an inorganic state of stillness. When this energy dominates, it doesn't manifest as violent destruction, but as a slow draining away, a quiet implosion of purpose. We mistake this absence of striving for peace, when in reality, it's a profound lack of vital engagement. This sleeping meaning is a heavy veil, obscuring the essential vitality of our inner lives. It's a testament to a force that seeks to undo, to quiet, to still. But what does this somnolence signify when it governs our inner landscape, and how does it manifest as a subtle yet pervasive erosion of our spiritual aliveness? Our days often fall into a predictable rhythm. We wake, we work, we consume, we sleep, and we repeat. This cycle, while providing structure, can become a gilded cage, a perfectly maintained tomb for the spirit. It offers security, yes, but at the cost of genuine aliveness, a serene burial ground where spontaneity and true exploration wither. This routine, this predictable flow, can feel like a comfortable habit, a well-worn path. But look closer. Are we walking this path, or is the path walking us? The absence of discomfort, the lack of sharp edges, can be a sign that we are no longer truly living, but merely existing within carefully constructed boundaries. This is the essence of a psycho-spiritual coffin. It's not a violent death, but a slow, quiet suffocation of the soul's wilder impulses. We become embalmed in familiarity, our deepest desires packed away like brittle artifacts, too precious or too frightening to disturb. We've built a perfect resting place and then moved in. The repetition, the soothing predictability can lull us into believing we are safe, that we are stable. But this stability is the stillness of the grave, not the vibrant pulse of life. What happens when this dependable cycle becomes the very architecture of our inner confinement, And how does this routine entomb the authentic self? Carl Jung spoke of a necessary dive, a deliberate confrontation with the hidden chambers of the psyche. This isn't mere introspection, but an active engagement, a willingness to wander through the landscapes of the unconscious, even when they seem dark or disorienting. It's a journey into the self, where the most potent truths often lie buried. He called this active imagination, a way to converse with the entities that reside within us, not as therapists or analysts, but as fellow travelers. It's about acknowledging the voices, the images, the impulses that arise unbidden, and meeting them with curiosity rather than immediate judgment or exorcism. This interior death is the shedding of the ego's rigid certainty, the surrender of our known identity to explore the vast, unknown territories of the soul. It's a willingness to descend into the darkness of our own making, not to be consumed by it, but to understand its architecture, its hidden treasures, and its power. Jung believed this descent was not an optional detour, but the very engine of individuation, the process of becoming our whole, true selves. But what does this active engagement with our inner darkness truly entail, and how does this confrontation with our interior death forge the path to genuine wholeness? There are parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge, aspects of our being that we keep locked away, fearing their power or their perceived ugliness. This is the shadow, that hidden territory of the psyche containing all that we repress, all that we disown. Its silence isn't peace, but a potent, unacknowledged force. When we deny these disowned parts, they don't simply disappear. They fester, they gain a strange, distorted power in their banishment. They whisper from the edges of our awareness, influencing our thoughts and actions in ways we rarely understand. This refusal to let them die is a refusal to let our whole selves live. The shadow is not inherently evil, but it is unknown. And the unknown, unintegrated, can become the source of our greatest anxieties and our most destructive behaviors. It is the part of us that carries the primal fear, the unexpressed rage, the buried sorrow we collectively refuse to confront. This silence of the shadow is a profound indication of what we are unwilling to face. It's a psychic space held captive by fear and denial. But what exactly is contained within this unacknowledged darkness, and what is the cost of refusing to let these vital, if uncomfortable, aspects of ourselves finally die and be reborn? In the ancient myths, the dismemberment of Osiris is not a catastrophe, but a crucial catalyst for his resurrection. His body, torn apart, scattered across the divine landscape, signifies a radical dissolution, a breaking down of the familiar form to allow for a profound transformation. It's the ultimate letting go. This breaking apart, this seeming annihilation, is not an end, but a necessary prelude to a new beginning. It's a symbolic death that unravels the old order, forcing a redefinition of what was once solid and eternal. The scattered pieces must then be gathered, not to recreate the identical form, but to birth a new, more potent existence. The Osiris principle teaches us that true awakening often requires a breaking. We must be willing to be shattered, to have our cherished illusions and identities dismantled piece by piecemeal. This dismemberment is the fertile ground from which a more authentic and powerful self can emerge, a self that transcends the limitations of its former structure. This archetype of coming back together after being torn apart speaks to a profound truth about growth. It suggests that life's deepest awakenings are born not from preservation, but from a willingness to be broken. But what is the nature of this sacred dismemberment, and in what ways does the conscious surrender of our former selves pave the way for a true resurrection? There's a wildness that seeks expression, a chaotic energy that erupts from the depths of our being when we allow it. This is the Dionysian spirit, the ecstatic embrace of dissolution, the intoxicating joy found in shedding the constraints of order and reason. It's a plunge into the primal, a surrender to the raw, untamed forces of existence. This madness, this loss of self-control, is not mere destruction, but a powerful form of liberation. In the frenzy of dissolution, the ego's tight grip loosens, allowing for an overwhelming sense of connection to the universe, to the Bacchic reverie of life itself. It's a return to the ecstatic pulse that underpins all creation. The ancient Greeks understood this necessary chaos, this joyous disintegration. They knew that within the wild abandon of Dionysian rites, one could find a profound truth, a release from the suffocating order of everyday life. It's in losing oneself that one can truly find a deeper, more ecstatic form of being. This embrace of dissolution, this ecstatic surrender, stands in stark contrast to our modern pursuit of stability and control. It invites us to question the fear of losing ourselves. But what is the true nature of Dionysian madness, and how does its terrifying freedom offer a pathway to a more vibrant and authentic expression of life? We often walk through life guided by the quiet tick of a clock, measuring our worth by linear progress and accumulated time. Yet there are deeper rhythms, subtler signals within us, like silent bells, that often go unheard. These are the whispers of our intuition, the calls to pause, to reflect, to feel. When these inner bells remain silent, or when we choose not to hear their chime, a profound numbness can set in. This isn't a sign of inner peace, but a warning. It suggests that something vital within us is being ignored, a deep well of feeling or experience that has been deliberately disregarded. This spiritual deafness, this failure to respond to our inner signals, is a form of spiritual anesthesia. We become desensitized, less responsive to the subtle shifts in our emotional and psychological landscape. The vibrant life of the soul is muted, replaced by a dull, persistent quiet. The absence of resonant response, the lack of a ringing alarm when something is amiss, is the most telling sign of soul abandonment. It speaks to a disconnection from our own inner wisdom. But what does this profound silence signify, and how does the absence of these inner bells signal a deeper, perhaps dangerous, spiritual torpor? We find ourselves trapped in cycles, repeating the same patterns, making the same mistakes, traversing the same dead ends. This is the labyrinth of the soul, a complex maze of our own making, where the pathways seem endless but ultimately lead nowhere new. It's a prison of repetition. Within this maze, we often mistake movement for progress. We bustle about, convinced we are making headway, only to find ourselves back at the familiar crossroads, the same challenges staring us in the face. The walls of this labyrinth are built from our own unexamined beliefs and deeply ingrained habits. This repetition is a symptom of a soul that is not truly engaging with its own unfolding. It's a sign of being stuck in a holding pattern, too afraid or unable to confront the possibility of genuine change, of stepping onto an unknown path. The soul longs for release, but finds itself perpetually circling. The repetitive nature of our struggles within this inner maze is more than just frustration. It's a cry for breakthrough. It suggests we are missing a vital element, a key to escape. But what lies at the heart of this temporal trap, and how does our inclination towards repetition imprison us within the labyrinth of our own existence without liberation? There is a specific kind of time, a relentless, unforgiving march that governs much of our modern existence. It is the time of Saturn, lord of order, discipline, and consequence. This linear progression, focused on survival and accumulation, can impose a tyrannical structure on our inner lives, squeezing out the vital energies of spontaneity and true being. This emphasis on linear survival, on ticking off achievements and milestones, reduces life to a series of checkboxes. It fosters an anxiety about time running out, about not doing enough, not becoming enough. The present moment, rich with potential, is sacrificed at the altar of future goals and past regrets. Saturnian time forces us into a rigid framework where deviation is seen as failure and exploration as wasted effort. It's the relentless pursuit of security, the fear of the unknown, that traps us in this temporal dictatorship. We become slaves to the clock, our spirit confined by its unyielding hands. This dominion of linear survival creates not just a sense of urgency, but a profound spiritual constraint. It dictates a path that prioritizes continuity over change, order over dynamism. But what is the ultimate price of living under this autocratic reign of Saturnian time, and how does it stunt the soul's natural instinct for growth and renewal? The narrative of crucifixion, central to Christian mythology, speaks of a profound sacrifice, a painful immersion into the deepest suffering to reveal a hidden, potent truth. It is an archetype of immense spiritual weight, suggesting that ultimate transformation often arises from the crucible of extreme trial. This voluntary descent into suffering, into the death of the everyday self, is not about masochism. It's about the symbolic shattering of limitations, the willingness to be broken open to allow a deeper, divine essence to emerge. Christ's journey to the cross is a curriculum of surrender and transformation. The very act of being crucified represents an ultimate surrender of the ego's demands, a laying down of personal will in the face of an overwhelming divine purpose. It's a testament to the idea that through profound loss and suffering, a transcendent understanding can be attained, a resurrection of the spirit. This powerful symbol of the crucifixion offers a challenging perspective on suffering. It presents it not as an unfortunate accident, but as a necessary catalyst for spiritual revelation. But what is the fundamental lesson embedded within this ancient ritual of suffering, and how does the symbolic acceptance of this ordeal unlock a profoundly different kind of life? In so many modern narratives, the feminine principle, the anima, is reduced to triviality. She appears as a superficial ornament, a collection of tropes, the damsel, the temptress, the caregiver, devoid of her true psychic depth and power. She is seen but not understood, her essence flattened and misunderstood. This trivialization is a grave error. The anima, as the inner feminine, holds the keys to intuition, emotion, creativity, and the very soul's connection to the unconscious. When she is reduced to mere surface, the inner world of the man, and by extension, the entire psyche, becomes impoverished, disconnected from its vital emotional and spiritual source. Her death in this context isn't an end, but a banishment to the realm of the superficial. She is caricatured, her profound mysteries dismissed as feminine whim or emotional excess. This exclusion stunts the development of the whole person, leaving them isolated from a vital part of their own psychic architecture. This grave mistake of trivializing the anima leaves a profound emptiness. It's a loss that cripples our capacity for deep connection and creative expression. But what is lost when the inner feminine is relegated to the superficial, and how does this psychic impoverishment reflect a deeper societal disconnection from authentic emotional and spiritual life? Alchemy's initial stage, the nigredo, is a descent into darkness, a primal phase of dissolution and decay. It is the blackening, a symbolic process where all that is known and solid is broken down, mingled, and subjected to the forces of decomposition. This is where the inner rot begins, the necessary dismantling of the old self. This stage is often met with resistance, with fear. It represents the confronting of all that is impure, all that is corrupted within us. It's an embrace of the shadow, the acceptance of our imperfections, and our capacity for spiritual decay. Without this initial rot, no new growth can truly begin. The nigredo is not about being destroyed, but about being deconstructed. It's the essential breakdown required before the alchemist, or the awakened soul, can begin the work of reconstruction. It demands a willingness to sit in the ashes, to acknowledge the contamination and the corruption that lies dormant within all things. This phase of inner rot, this symbolic decomposition, is a crucial, albeit daunting, step on the path to transformation. It's where the familiar world dissolves into chaos, paving the way for a new order. But what is the true nature of this alchemical blackening, and how does its confrontation with inner decay lay the foundation for rebirth? The false self, the persona we adopt to navigate the world, the carefully constructed identity that shields us from vulnerability, can become so convincing that we lose sight of its artifice. When this artificial construct solidifies, it leads to a profound inner death, a suicide of the genuine, authentic core of our being. This self-deception is a slow bleed. We begin to believe our own performance, mistaking the mask for the face. The more we invest in this fabricated identity, the more we alienate ourselves from our true needs, our authentic desires, and our deepest sense of purpose. It's an act of self-betrayal. The suicide of the false self isn't a dramatic event, but a gradual fading. It's the quiet abandonment of our own inner truth for the sake of external validation or perceived security. We kill off the vibrant, messy, glorious self in favor of a polished, palatable imitation. This obliteration of the true self, this insidious homicide, leaves a void where genuine life should be. It's the ultimate irony. In seeking to protect ourselves, we ultimately annihilate our own capacity for authentic existence. But what does this inner suicide truly entail, and how does its insidious nature disconnect us from the vital pulse of our own being? Our modern culture has, in many ways, become a grave robber of the soul's deepest needs. We have sterilized grief, commodified remembrance, and outsourced our mourning to fleeting digital gestures and hollow platitudes. We have stolen the sacred act of lament. The rituals that once allowed for the authentic processing of loss, the deep, communal experience of sorrow, have been largely discarded. Instead, we are encouraged to move on quickly, to suppress our pain, and to replace genuine catharsis with superficial displays of sentiment or the relentless pursuit of distraction. This cultural theft actively discourages the necessary confrontation with death and loss. By sanitizing grief, we rob ourselves of the profound lessons and transformative power that come from truly engaging with mortality. We create a society that fears and avoids death, thereby remaining spiritually underdeveloped. This act of spiritual larceny, this robbing of our natural capacity for mourning, leaves us emotionally stunted and spiritually hollowed out. It denies us a vital passage that leads to deeper wisdom and connection. But what is lost when we are denied the sacred art of lament? And how does this cultural aversion to grief keep us from true emotional and spiritual maturity? The journey into the underworld, the symbolic descent into the depths of our own being, is not an ending but a potent beginning. It is the ritualistic embracing of death, of the old self, the limiting beliefs, the unexamined patterns to awaken to a more vibrant, authentic existence. This rite of passage is the very essence of renewal. This descent is not a passive experience, but an active engagement with the unknown landscapes within us. It requires courage, introspection, and a profound willingness to surrender what we thought we knew about ourselves. It is in confronting the darkness, the stillness, the perceived end, that we encounter the seeds of new life. The symbolism of grave and tombs is not about death as finality, but as a threshold. Within these sacred spaces of dissolution, the true work of transformation can occur. It is here, in the quiet of what has passed, that the potential for profound rebirth is realized, leading to an emergence into a more conscious and radiant state of being. This ritual of embracing death, of consciously entering into the symbolic grave of our former selves, is the ultimate act of alchemical magic. It's the key to unlocking true vitality, to shedding the numbness, and stepping into the full spectrum of conscious existence. But how do we truly perform this sacred descent, and what does it mean to emerge reborn from the very spaces we once feared as finality? Now, make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next